Sex sells, let's be honest here, and just get that out of the way, especially in the comic books in the 80s and the 90s. It was a simpler time. You didn't have to worry about plot or a continuity that made sense. You could easily throw in some giant muscles in skimpy costumes, and you could sell your book. Nowadays, using sex to sell your comics is, hold on, let me check my notes here, don't want to get this one wrong. Yes, apparently it's bad now. Yes, it is bad. So keeping that in mind, we're going down the list of overly sexual costumes that were eventually changed. Now keep in mind, some of these were changed in the 80s, some of these were changed in the 90s, and some of them really didn't ever change. But they've all been changed in one way or another. Now today's video is brought to you by forhims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, sexual wellness, all of these things for men. If you want to go ahead and attract some women who are wearing outfits that they honest to God should not be wearing, well, you know, hair loss is going to stop that, bad skin is going to stop that, and well, sexual wellness, I don't think I need to explain that any further. You can go ahead and go to their website, forhims.com, and get well-known generic equivalents to name brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair or make your skin look amazing. You don't have to get snake oil pills or go get gas station counter supplements. Prescription solutions backed by science. You just go to their website, answer a few quick questions, a doctor's gonna review them and then prescribe you a product, and they'll be shipped directly to your door. If you order now, my listeners will get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today while supplies last. See the website for full details. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy directly. Just go to forhims.com/top10. That's forhims.com/top10. forhims.com/top10. Now let's go ahead and move forward with this list of overly sexual costumes that were eventually changed because, honestly, they should have been changed. Who thought they were a good idea in the first place? Oh, right, the guys who wanted to sell sex in their comics. Starting off the top of our list, Sue Richards. Ah, the Invisible Woman. The first family of Marvel was always supposed to be that, a family. Sue started out as the girlfriend to Reed Richards, eventual wife and mother to his children. She was also a figurative mother to the team from the very beginning. Unfortunately, the early 90s caught up to Sue and she traded out her Fantastic Four full-body jumpsuit for a bathing suit, thigh-high stripper boots, and long white gloves. The best part being the requisite number 4 cutout window in her chest region. Nothing says mother figure like a stripper outfit. Am I right? Haha. Thankfully, this costume did not last very long and Sue returned to a more practical superhero jumpsuit attire. Number 2 is Power Girl. This one's kind of a weird one. Kara Zor-El, the cousin of Kal-El, made her debut in All-Star Comics number 58 in 1976. Since her beginnings, Power Girl's costume has stayed relatively the same. Generally a white leotard with a hole cut out to show her cleavage, red cape, blue boots, and gloves. The cutout chest has been used for humor or scorn throughout her long comics career, although it should be noted that Power Girl has never apologized for it. During their New 52 reboot, someone at DC decided that it was time for a change. It was time for her to cover up the boob window. Power Girl became the Supergirl of Earth 2, who had been transported to Earth Prime along with Batgirl. While there, the duo adopted the identities of Huntress and Power Girl. And for her new costume, Kara adopted a full white bodysuit with a P over her pectoral muscle. Now, during this time, DC was taking some flack for the overly sexual reimagining of some of their characters in the reboot. In contrast, some fans were upset that they changed the old costume of Power Girl. As the series went on, Kara's costume eventually returned to its classic look, cleavage window and all, and eventually she returned to Earth 2, where her cleavage was covered up by the classic Superman symbol. Honestly, this one just sounds like someone couldn't make up their mind whether it was inappropriate or not. But for me, with the character arc that she took in the New 52, getting the Superman symbol to cover it up was where it needed to go. Number 3 is going to be Wonder Woman. The First Lady of DC Comics has a long history in comics and has had a hand of full-on costumes over the years. This isn't even honestly the worst. There was a brief time where she was just wearing a thong. But it seems to be a combination of somebody's weird fetishes mixed in with what was deemed cool in the 90s. Diana is stripped of her Wonder Woman title and armor. Being the 90s, this caused her to cut her hair and adopt a new costume. A biker stripper is probably the best way to describe this. Leather bra, small jacket, biker shorts, black gloves and boots, and of course, a bare midriff. Honestly, I'm not even sure I want to know what the artists and editors who thought that this was sexy were doing on the weekends. Thankfully, like many changes in comics and 90s comics in general, this costume change did not last, and Wonder Woman was back to rocking her iconic costume in no time. Number 4 is Starfire. Starfire never really had the most conservative of costumes since her debut in 1980. However, in the New 52, they somehow managed to make her costume even more revealing by removing more of the fabric, which one can assume is made by some alien material that doesn't allow it to move during combat. Coupling this with her new attitude towards sex in comics caused many fans to complain that this was an over-sexualization of their beloved character. Possibly because of this, or because she was on the Teen Titans TV show where kids looked up to her, DC changed her costume again during its Rebirth reboot, and her new costume is probably her least revealing one to date. Don't get me wrong, it's still a crop top, miniskirt, and go-go boots, but hey, they're trying! Number 5 is Harley Quinn. Listen, I'm not saying that DC's New 52 didn't have its problems. I'm not. Not saying it was good either, though. Harley has become a fan favorite since her initial debut in the Batman animated series in the 90s. Her classic costume is iconic, in my opinion, but that wasn't sexy enough for some people, so we got this, the New 52 version. During the New 52 reboot, Harley was given a costume that can only be described as sexy clown lingerie. Now, I assume the ones who came up with this probably hung out in the same clubs as those who dug the whole biker stripper Wonder Woman thing, but I'm not here to judge. Harley was a part of the whole fan outcry of DC's over-sexualization of certain characters during the reboot. Harley went through several different costume changes during her own series. I still stand by the original look, the full-body suit, but that may just be me. Number 6 is Vampirella. Introduced in 1969, Vampirella was a vampire from the planet of Draculon, where the standard clothing is apparently a monokini with a white collar and black boots, for reasons. Vampirella's look has remained more or less constant since her inception. Every now and then she'll throw on a black cape or a long coat cape-ish thing, but overall there has been very little changes in her outfit. It wasn't until the Dynamite Comics reboot in 2016 that after 47 years, she finally adopted a new costume. In the new series, we saw the Vampire alien become a Hollywood scream queen who fights evil by night while sporting a more tactical uniform that actually covers most of her body. Then, in another soft reboot in 2017, we saw her costume change again, this time into more of a club dress style, so half step backwards. I'll let you decide. Number 7 is Witchblade. Published by Top Cow Comics in 1995, Witchblade tells the story of the NYPD detective Sarah Pazzini, who bonds with a supernatural gauntlet that gives her the power to fight the evil forces of the world. The Witchblade bonds with its host, providing them with an array of powers and armor. Of course, since its wielders are always women, it has to shred your clothes. You know, that way it can provide armor to very strategic places. Like many comics in the 90s, the series showcased its scantily clad, attractive female lead any chance that they could get. They did, however, evolve over time. As the series went on, Sarah's Witchblade armor went from being a bikini to more like actual armor. And in 2017, the reboot, it actually became a full bodysuit armor. And I glanced at the current reboot for Witchblade, and it looks like it doesn't even turn into armor, she turns into like something that looks like space. I don't know, I glanced at the back page of one of the issues. Number 8 is Red Sonja. Now, what's better than Conan the Barbarian? How about a hot female barbarian in a chainmail bikini? Created in 1973 for Marvel Comics, Red Sonja joined a long line of female barbarians clad in barely nothing. She was everything you loved about the sword and sorcery genre, with boobs. Now, we could sit here all day and argue about the practicality of a chainmail bikini in battle. I like to think that it's a matter of distracting your enemies to give you an upper hand, which will make for better stabbing, something that Red Sonja has said herself. But apparently others also realize the general lack of protection from both sharp objects and a mild breeze was a problem. So in a soft reboot by Dynamite Comics in 2016, Red Sonja was given a more practical appearance with a pseudo-medieval time period. Now, don't get me wrong, she was by no means fully dressed, but, you know, baby steps. Now for number 9, we're gonna cover Hawkeye, because you know what? Let's throw a few guys on this list. Clint Barton has changed his clothing and identity more times than a first-year college student still trying to find themselves. The best choice, of course, being Avengers number 98. After a brief stint as Giant Man, Clint returned to the role of Hawkeye, but you can't just go back into your old costume, that's lame! You gotta adapt, innovate, no pants! Genius! If you think about it, this dashing tunic and headband ensemble could work on a tactical level too. I mean, if your enemies are too busy averting their eyes, you know, so they don't see your little Hawkeyes, then they won't be able to fight back, right? It's kind of the same logic between Red Sonja's thing, except the opposite, because in Red Sonja she wore it so that they would look at her and not be able to fight back, but maybe Hawkeye wore his so that they would. Number 10 on our list is Namor. Now, the year is 1939. Superheroes are making a big splash in the funny books, and you got a character who's the king of the ocean. So what does he wear? Swim trunks. Brilliant. Move on to the next money-making idea. Listen, I get it. He lives in the ocean. Swimwear makes sense. Plus, how confused were the Nazis when a flying man in nothing but a green bikini bottom showed up to war? Namor wouldn't get a costume update until Submariner number 67, which showed a more fully clothed superhero costume. Ah, I miss the days where a man could fly around in nothing but his underwear and be labeled a hero. Simpler times. So there you guys go. What do you think about those old original costumes from the 90s? Now, before a bunch of you guys go in the comments and state that you feel that this was an agenda or that there was something going on, personally, I don't think there was. I don't think that there was an overall agenda in a lot of these costume changes. A lot of them, like Sue Richards, was just because the other one made no sense. And then ones that are more recent in the recent years, I think are because comic books became more popular due to movies, meaning that there's a much broader audience, and that broader audience all don't agree that they want bikini-clad barbarians. I get it. I get why they existed in the 90s when it was mostly a male audience, but that's not the day anymore. But seriously, I want to know your opinions down in the comments below. This was a fun list to make. We had a good time. And don't forget, Supernatural is still one of the best shows over at CW.